Hey guys, welcome to the workshop. It's called Intro to Cloud and AWS, presented by CougarCS. So this is presented by myself and Nykolas Farhangi. I'm Webmaster at CougarCS and Web Developer at Projects SEO.
Hey guys, I'm Nykolas Farhangi. I'm the Vice President over at CougarCS, and I'm a DevOps intern at Tokyo Marine HCC. So before we hop into this event, just some basic housekeeping with CougarCS. CougarCS, for those of you who aren't members already, we are the largest student-run organization at the University of Houston for computer science. We do a ton of events like these. We host a bunch of these fun workshops, offer mentorship guidance, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Our main goal is to promote student enablement. So here's our socials, here's a few links if you guys are interested in learning more about us and joining. And we're going to send a copy of this slide at the end of the event, so don't worry if you can't jot down the links.
For today's agenda, we're going to jump into Introduction to Cloud. Then we'll learn about basics of AWS. Then we'll learn how to use AWS with its console, CLI, and SDK. Then we'll get to use the SDK in our full stack application. And then finally, we'll open up the floor for any questions you would have. Awesome. So introduction to cloud. So what's the big question here? The biggest question is, what is cloud? To sum it up in one sentence, cloud is an on-demand access to IT resources on the web. What does that mean? Basically, you're accessing somebody else's IT resources for your compute or your storage. Now, it's also like an alternative to using your or buying your and owning your own data centers and servers. So imagine like 4 years ago, if you wanted to host a website, you would have to buy your own server, build it all together and network it. And you would have to do all that hassle just to have your website up. But somebody thought of the solution, said, hey, I already got all this figured out. Why don't you host your website on my server and just pay for whatever you use? And that's kind of what the cloud is, what we are using cloud right now. We're just using somebody else's computer to do compute and storage. But with cloud nowadays, it's a lot more robust than just hosting our website on somebody else's server. So why would you use cloud per se? Imagine a scenario where you are like a startup company and money is kind of tight. Every penny you save is kind of important to you. One of the important features with cloud is its cost saving. You only pay for what you use. You don't have any overhead costs for equipment. You don't maintain anything, so you don't pay for that. And for a startup company, that's like the best thing that they can have. So you only pay for what you use. It's really good. Another thing is reliability. Now, what is reliability? You actually, when you have a service like a website or application, you want that service to be up 24/7. You want all of your users to be able to access the website everywhere and just have it up. Now, when you have an in-house solution, delivering reliability is a very tricky thing. If you use a cloud provider that's very big, it's very easy to rely on them to take care of these things. A lot of them would guarantee you 99.9% reliability. Another thing is about backups. They would have backups of your backups of your backup. So you don't have to worry about losing your data. So let's say if you have an in-house solution and your building just burns down, all of your data will be lost. That is a big no-no. You don't want all that. Another features or benefits are mobility and scalability. These are two big things. Think of mobility. So you would be able to access your cloud resources from anywhere. You guys all know we are in COVID right now. And everybody was working from home. Imagine having an in-house solution when COVID was there. People had to literally go to the servers and upgrade their servers or maintain it or do whatever they needed to. But with cloud, they can just do it wherever remotely where they are. And with the click of button, they can upgrade it, update it, do anything like that. Also scalability. If you're in a startup environment or like any company, and you would think that all companies kind of grow, so users would also grow more and more as time goes along. So you would have to plan ahead of time to scale your servers, and therefore you would have to get more equipment, ready up everything, hook everything up together. But with cloud, you don't have to do all of this. You just have to click a button and it's just going to add more servers to your environment, and you'd be good to handle more and more users.
Yeah. And and thank you for. I mean, these are some fantastic points here. I mean, another thing that you might want to think about is, I mean, who here has the technical skill to create their own server and provision resources and do maintenance, constantly upgrade security. I mean, okay, yeah, this is a CS event, so I know there's some PC enthusiasts who have this technical skill, but I mean, if you're a business owner and your domain is risk management or whatever your field is, economics, your skill isn't around how to set up a server and manage these things and manage backups and reliability. This cloud it removes the hassle, all of that. You get top of state of the art security, reliability, and all that as we've described, and you get it for pretty affordable price. Of course, traditional computing is in the long term, in the short term, it's cheaper if you have the resources to get it started. But cloud is a really great deal for a lot of people.
Yeah, and because of all of these benefits and advantages, Nicholas, if you can go to the next slide, you can see like the usage of cloud has just been grown. Like the market was about $5.82 billion in 2008, and in 2020 it's like $159 billion. That's like a huge growth. I don't know how many folds that is, but that can explain you why, as like so many startups are coming up now, they all prefer to use this, and the market keeps on growing more and more. Nicholas, if you can go to the next slide.
Yeah, and I
And
mean, I just want to add, when cloud really started becoming big in 2008, $6 billion worth, people started to realize as more companies were migrating over, they realized you can do a lot with the cloud. Initially, it was basic use cases like, just hosting a server or, simple things. But then this entire idea of cloud native applications and cloud native businesses came into mind where why do anything at all with traditional infrastructure when you could do it in the cloud for cheaper, with all the benefits that we've outlined before. The market keeps, blowing up and growing with every year.
And yeah, and because it grows up and a lot of companies are coming in now and more, cloud engineers is kind of the hottest position. Look at the increase. Given in mind, like 2020 was a pandemic year, there was a 6.3% increase in the salaries for cloud engineers. Compared that to others, people are not even close. So you can see like it's the hottest thing kind of in 2020, and it's just going to keep on growing more and more. So let's take a deeper look at the cloud. There are a few things that we need to understand in terms of cloud. Cloud can be kind of divided into three big categories, not necessarily contained in them, but they're big categories that are mostly used. One's compute, other is storage, and the third one is database. Compute, you can think about it as just like using somebody else's computer. You can have like an entire server that's somebody else's and you just use the entire thing. That's like a compute. We'll talk more about these in later slides, but just to give an overview, that's what a compute is. Storage is like a file manager, just somewhere else. You're just using somebody else's file storage. And database is like MongoDB, where you have your database and you get services where you can get information out of it. Another way cloud is divided is public, private, and hybrid cloud. What public cloud is like AWS or Azure, where it's accessible to everybody and everybody can just use it. Some companies go to prefer a private cloud method where they would just build their own cloud, or they would hire like a company to build their own cloud. They just don't want other people to be accessing the same computers that they're using for their products. That's where they use private cloud. Now, some companies also prefer hybrid cloud, which is partly using private and partly using public cloud. That's what that is. Another way that cloud is divided into is IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. In to describe more, it's IaaS is infrastructure as a service. Going back to our example before, where you had somebody else host your website, they are doing the infrastructure for you, and they are providing that infrastructure for you to you as a service. So that's called IaaS. That's infrastructure as a service. Platform as a service is, I don't know if you guys have used something like a Heroku. That's called platform as a service. They provide the platform for you and you can use that platform as a service. And the third thing is software as a service. Software as a service, I think everybody uses this. It's applications on the web. It's like Google Drive or your Gmail or anything like that. That's called software as a service. Now, if you look at the map on the right side, you can see that as you use software as a service, going to infrastructure as a service, your level of control kind of changes. In software as a service, you're only interacting with the software itself, whereas infrastructure as a service, you can access the base level things such as server. You can make changes into the server itself, whereas on software as a service, you would not be. Our goal for this workshop is to mostly uncover infrastructure as a service and learn more about AWS. Now, why did we choose AWS? It's because you can clearly see by the usage out there, AWS is clearly the leader amongst other providers. It has a very big market share, as you can already see, about 35% or more. And it's probably the most popular one. So if you're going for a cloud engineer, learning AWS is probably your best bet. Now, to tell you more about AWS, I'll have Nykolas here who will teach about some basics.
Thank you, Shubh. And really interesting stuff so far. As you guys saw in that previous chart, AWS has a massive percentage of this market. They're a huge player, and they're growing. They're setting the pace for market growth across. Actually, if you can see, they are the overall growth rate of the market. They innovate, and people they trailblaze, and people come behind and add their services and kind of replicate what they're going on over here. So let's talk about the basics of AWS. So what is AWS, for the first question? Amazon Web Services is the world's leading cloud provider with a 34% market share in the public cloud. It's one of the fastest growing public clouds among its competitors. AWS was founded in 2006, and it's the first company to offer infrastructure as a service as we know it today. They're also one of the first companies to offer the idea of the modern cloud as we know it today. Here's an interesting chart. On the y-axis, we have ability to execute. So this is, just raw funding and infrastructure, like physical infrastructure of data centers and stuff like that. And on the x-axis, we have the completeness of vision. How far ahead, thinking. And just really quick, if everyone could mute themselves, I'd super appreciate that. As many of you guys know who Amazon is, they're the largest e-commerce website in the world. They realized they had all this raw computing power and all this raw cloud that they're using for their private solutions. And they thought, what if we just made this public and made a really beautiful API around it and made it really easy for people to use? And they were the first company to bring cloud to public and the scale that we know today. And they really kicked off this market, and even today they hold the lead in terms of their vision, their sight into the future, how they're developing their platform and growing it, and their ability to execute their raw computing performance. Why should you learn AWS? AWS is one of the most in-demand skills since 2015. About 60% of cloud computing jobs require AWS as a skill, as you would expect when they're the market leader. And people with an associate level AWS certification earn an average salary of $120,000 a year. And just to put that into context, an associate level certification is only the second level out of like 5, I think. It's a pretty, within a year you could be making this kind of salary with technical position, with technical skill. And even more so if you elect for the solutions architect branch. The solutions architect are the people who piece together infrastructure as a service solutions and really build things out at the fundamental level. And those guys make upwards of 130,000. It's pretty crazy. And again, for an associate level, not even a professional. AWS features, okay, so moving on to what exactly AWS is. We covered what it is, why you should learn it. Now let's talk about the kind of thing that AWS offers. AWS features hundreds of cloud service offerings, and they have it over a multitude of categories. This diagram we have here is just a handful of the categories. I want to emphasize everything I'm going to show you right now is only just cherry picking some of the cool parts of AWS. It's a seriously huge platform, so we won't be able to cover everything today. Yeah, as Shubh pointed out, we have our compute, storage, and database, and yeah, a whole range.
Yeah, AWS just covers like so much stuff. It covers everything from like compute to like machine learning and like quantum computing, and you can also use AWS to communicate with satellites and stuff. It's like, so you can clearly see why AWS is the leader compared to all other cloud providers. And imagine like a startup company who wanted to do quantum computing, they would definitely have to use a cloud provider, and it would kind of not be feasible for them to just use their own in-house solution for that.
Yeah, I mean, what if you wanted to use quantum computing? Just plug into AWS, so you can rent a server and you'll pay per second of usage. So you don't have to actually like the billions of dollars it takes in research and development to get your own. So AWS has quite a huge range. So let's hop into some of the big services. I'm gonna just cover some of the cool ones, which are compute, storage, and machine learning, and database. So first, compute. Compute refers to the services that are related to computational workloads, such as running a server, hosting content, serverless, and more. Some of the big players here that AWS offers is EC2. This stands for Elastic Cloud Compute. This is your traditional, let me rent a server from you that has these specs for, however long, right? It's something that you would maybe turn on for 1 hour and then turn it off, or you could set it on a scheduler, or you could run it 24/7, right? It's your traditional compute. What's really cool about EC2 is, it's very easy to set up. Let's say I want a Linux machine that's running this distribution of Linux. I want it to have 1 CPU and 3 gigs of RAM. It's going to be a pretty cheap machine, and I'm only going to pay for the time that it's on. Let's say that my application suddenly is experiencing a huge uptake in demand. I can scale that machine vertically, which means that I can change the specs that are within it. So instead of having 1 virtual CPU, I can upgrade that to 10, and I can upgrade my RAM to 150 gigabytes of RAM. So I can increase my performance on a huge range, instantly while it's live, and scale my application as needed. And then you can also scale horizontally, which is provision more machines and whatever you need, whatever you need when you need it. On the other hand, we have Lambda. This is one of the most popular services AWS offers. I'm sure many of you guys have heard of it, even if you aren't familiar with AWS. This is the whole entire concept of serverless compute. Imagine you have a piece of code, but you only want to run it, you only want this code to be ran on an event, like when there's a need for it, like when someone hits sign in on your website. You don't need to have a server that's running 24/7, costing you money to be ran 24/7 just to listen for when this one event occurs. So what if you could just write a little function and then connect it to an event, and then whenever an event occurs, the function is called, a server is spun up instantly, and within milliseconds, the compute load is finished and the server spins down. You're only going to pay for the milliseconds that server was turned on. It's a really powerful concept, and it birthed the entire idea of cloud native systems where you have entire applications built on many of these microservice, lambdas, or like serverless functions. So really cool. And then another service in the compute section is Lightsail. This is for managed application deployment. This is more of a platform as a service as opposed to an infrastructure. And what this is let's say you have like a React application, or you have some basic app that you want to serve. It basically makes your life easy. You upload your code, you tell it what it is, you tell the Lightsail that, yeah, I have a React application, I want these specs, and you hit go, and it takes care of the rest for you. It's hosted online, gives you the domain, gives you the link. It takes care of all the hard stuff for you, and it automatically scales it when it needs. So it's basically just it takes the hard part out of deploying your applications. This is just, and again, I want to emphasize, this is a pretty big range of different things you can do, and this is just in the compute function, in the compute service area. So moving on to databases. AWS offers a lot of different database solutions. We have DynamoDB, which is one of the most popular ones. It is a document-based database. If anyone here has used MongoDB, funny story, DynamoDB is actually a fork of MongoDB. So they're built on the same idea, the same technology, except AWS has gone and changed and made a lot of modifications to it to suit their system and their preferences. This is for your basic non-relational database needs. Let's say you have like a score system and you want to track your user scores or whatever. AWS offers RDS, which stands for Relational Database Service. This is for relational database needs, such as when you're using SQL, and it supports a lot of different SQL flavors. So Postgre or MySQL, Oracle SQL Server, whatever you need. This is actually built on top of EC2. So what it really is just simplifying creating a cloud database instead of working with the server directly, using RDS, which makes it a little bit easier. It's more of a platform as a service. And then we have Neptune. This isn't a particularly popular service, but I thought I'd throw it in just because it's pretty interesting. This is a graph database service. I don't know how many people here are familiar with graph database. Graph databasing, it's kind of a newer concept. It's really popular. It's growing a lot of steam. Really cool concept of how you store data instead of like as nodes on a database. So AWS is on every bleeding edge. Moving on to AWS storage. So this refers to just cloud storage, your general need cloud storage. S3 is one of the most popular ones. Stands for Simple Scalable Storage. And it's an object-based storage system. So pretty similar to Google Cloud, you have a folder that you can put files in, put folders in. It's similar to Google Drive. There's EFS, which stands for Elastic File Storage. If you're using a Windows machine and you have an NFS file system, like you open up your file explorer, how your files are, it's basically that in the cloud. You can provision the specs and all that, and you can plug it into your servers that you have, or you could plug it into your home computer, whatever your need is. And then there's EBS. This one's kind of a niche category, but for those of you who might be familiar with block storage, AWS has an offering in that area. And lastly, we have machine learning. This is for our data scientists out there. AWS has a huge range of machine learning offerings, such as SageMaker, which is one of the more popular ones. This lets you create, train, and deploy machine learning models in a whole bunch of different scenarios. There's Amazon Lex, which is a platform as a service. It lets you make chatbots that, for voice and text. So if you have a Discord bot or you want a Teams chatbot that's smart and conversational, this gives you a platform to do that on. There's transcribe, poly, your speech to text, text to speech, and there's recognition, which is visual analysis, lets you take a picture and it identifies objects. It also works with video, so if you're video and you want to identify objects in real time. This is just a small range. There's a whole lot more, but this is just some of the ones I wanted to cherry pick. There are over 200, I'm not exactly sure what the right number is, but over 200 different services that AWS offers, and we kind of cherry pick some of the cool ones. This is a screenshot of their, all services tab. I couldn't capture everything in it, but just to give you an idea, there's a lot for everyone, whatever your use case is. And moving on to the cost. You guys are probably wondering, how much does this really cost at the end of the day? So AWS offers a pay-as-you-go billing system where you're billed in milliseconds per time of service used. So it differs for every single cloud service. Some resources are cheaper than others, and depending on how you have it configured, it might be more expensive. So you really want to check out the pricing, but in general, you're looking at, I'd say on average, I see 0.0001 cent per millisecond used for like a Lambda or a EC2 instance. It's very cheap. But the great news here is AWS offers a really generous free tier, and it features services which are perpetually free and services that are free on a trial. And when I mean perpetually free, I mean like it's free forever if you're using it under, like, for example, if you're using S3 bucket, it's free for 12 months, but you have to like have less than 5 gigs. If you're using DynamoDB, it's free forever. It's free forever if you're limited to like 5 different database tables and like other limitations, but it's a pretty huge list. If you're using it as a student for your own projects, or you want to plug something into a game, you could do it almost entirely in the free tier. And if not, you're going to be spending like less than $1. The bill is really cheap when it comes to AWS. Now we're getting ready to hop into the demo. I just want to cover some of the basic ways that you use AWS. There's 3 different ways that you interact with AWS. There's the online management console. This is your web interface. This is going to be the main area that you use AWS. This is where you're going to be exploring, figuring out what you want to do, where you make a lot of your resources. So this is the main spot you're going to hang out. There's the AWS CLI, which is a command line interface. It pretty much lets you do anything that you can do in the console. And then there's many different AWS SDKs, which an SDK it basically simplifies interacting with AWS. Like imagine in a program, you just say DynamoDB.get item from a table. Like let's say you just want to make a pull from a table. It makes it really easy for you to integrate this into your code. And they offer it for a lot of different languages. So whatever language, whatever technology stack you're using, AWS has some flavor that'll work for you. Now, all 3 of these are built on top of AWS's powerful API. AWS has this really cool API, and it basically is the backbones, the back end of AWS. Anything that you can do on any of these 3 tools, the API they're basically interfaces for the API to simplify the API. So if there's ever a case where you can't use one of these 3, you can make a direct request to the API. All right, cool. So with that being said, we're ready to hop into the demo. I know that was a lot of information. You guys might be feeling a little overwhelmed, but we're going to hop into the demonstration. You guys are actually going to get your hands on this, and you'll see it's actually pretty straightforward. In today's demonstration, we are going to build a full-stack web application that uses AWS DynamoDB and AWS S3. So we're going to be using a database, and we're going to be using file storage, and we'll be interacting with these programmatically. We're going to be using the AWS console, the CLI, and the SDK. So you guys are going to get to dip your toes into all the 3 ways that you use AWS. If you haven't already, please go ahead and download the AWS CLI. I'm going to post that link in the chat again. Let me just copy it from here. Nice. I lost my chat. Here, Shubh, I don't know if you can send that.
I can post it.
Chat window just
yeah, I can post it.
Sorry guys, I do not use Zoom very much, so this is... Where's the chat thing?
Oh yeah, somebody already posted it for you.
Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. All right, cool. So yeah, while you guys are, if you guys can download this right now, I'm also going to post the demonstration instructions. So how this is going to work is I have a PDF with instructions that we're going to follow today to basically create our account, and then we're going to create these resources. We're going to use the CLI, and we're going to use the SDK, and basically you guys are going to write the little bits of SDK script that will connect our React front end to the AWS backend, and you'll be able to do a lot of cool things. So wait, Aryan said download or sign up. If you guys can download that right now, we're about to create an account in a moment. I'm gonna send the demo instructions. All right. So guys, I sent a PDF to the chat called demo instructions. If you guys can download that at this time, I'm gonna wait a few moments before we get rolling into that. Let me go ahead and move this to. All right, here we are. So I'm getting set up right now. If you guys can go ahead and download those demo instructions, and we'll get rolling in 1 second. All right, if you guys could drop an "I'm ready" in the chat when you're ready to go, we can get rolling. All right,
Nice.
all right. Look at all these readies. Ready, Freddy. Okay, I love to see it. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, guys. So first thing we're gonna do is create our AWS account. Let me send the link for that. You can also just go to aws.com or AWS and grab it. But here's the direct link for those of you who are the click and go kind of person. You can just click that and we can get rolling. Pop this up. Here we go. I'm going to be creating my account with you guys. We're going to go right from the start. So if you guys can go ahead and create your account, you're going to need to put in your credit card or some card for the billing info. It's going to show up like with a $1 charge, but it's going to get refunded. So it's not going to keep charging you. Everything we're going to do today is within the free tier, so don't worry about accidentally ranking up a bill, but make sure you don't accidentally create like a satellite communication, because that's going to cost you a lot of money. Or don't create like what's it called? A quantum computing server. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and go to create new account. Let me grab some info. Yeah, so we're going to create our account. If any of you guys here aren't able to create your account, we can provide you with credentials to so you can use them for this workshop. But you won't be able to follow along with us, so that'll be less fun. So yeah, just let us know if any of you guys have any problems. Oh, and throughout this entire demo, if at any point I'm moving too fast, or you guys want me to repeat something or show how to do something again, please feel free to ask. We are good on time. Yeah, we're great on. Oh, dang, we're great on time. So
Yep.
yeah, we're demo PDF. Yes. Do you see the file in the chat? I can send it one more time.
I can do that while you're setting up.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna fill this out really quick. Let me know when you guys are ready to go. No. Okay. Even if you, I got a question. If you already have an account, you need to attach it. No, everything you're going to be doing is on your own account, so you won't need to connect anything with us. Hoang asked if we need any prior knowledge to do this, and the answer is no. This is going to be very beginner friendly, so don't worry too much. This is going to be very beginner friendly. We're doing this all step by step, so no worries if you get lost on any part. Here we are. Okay. Sorry, I'm also getting set up over here. All right, we're getting some readies. Yeah, guys, let me know in the chat when you are ready to go. Awesome. We got some readies. Sorry, give me 1 second. AWS has been a little funky for me. I don't know about you guys, but this like CAPTCHA they give you is like actually kind of hard. It gets me a lot. I've submitted like multiple things into the thing to make it easier. All right, guys. So okay, I'm ready to go. Are you guys? I did the sound. Nice. Oh, the sound. Yeah, I gotta check that out. Cool. We see some readies. I see some readies in the chat. So let's go ahead and move on to the next step. Right now, we are signed into our account as the root user. So the root user has the all unlimited access to your AWS account. In general, it's bad practice to be doing anything other than managing the billing on AWS using your root account, because your root account has all access power. It can delete the entire account. It can view your billing information, all that stuff. So what you generally do is you'll go ahead and create an IMA user, which is IMA stands for Identity and Access Management, and you're going to sign into your AWS console using a user which has specified privileges. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Identity and Access Management. It might be up the top. If not, you can use the search bar at the top and type in IAM. And then from here, we're going to click Users. It's going to be on the left side bar. There's going to be a Users thing under Access Management. And you're going to click Add User. For the username, go ahead and call it something related to this demo. You could say CougarCS service, or CougarCS demo. I'm going to say service account. And the reason why I'm calling it a service account is because I'm going to be using this account when we get to the part with our front end. We need to give our front end permissions to interact with our AWS. So I'm creating an IMA user that will have permissions to use AWS from that. I'm going to enable programmatic access and access to the management console. And I'm going to disable the require password reset just because I'll use the password that it gives me. I'm fine with that. But yeah, other than that, just leave these settings as they are, and your screen should look like this. You got your username, programmatic access, AWS console access, and then auto-iterated password. Okay, cool. Yeah, let me just to backtrack a little bit. Go ahead and from here, from the base page of the management console, you want to go to the IMA tab. You want to search for the IMA service. So you can just look it up on the search bar and then click that. This stands for Identity and Access Management, and this is where you basically do the governance for your AWS account. You're going to go to Users, and you're going to click Add User, and yeah, and then now you're caught up. So this is where we're at. Go ahead and give it a name, enable programmatic access, and AWS Management Console access, and then we're good to go. And by the way, if you guys are falling behind during the workshop, these instructions outline this step by step. So don't worry if we go a little too fast. But do let me know. All right. For permissions, we're gonna go ahead and click Attach existing policies directly, and we're gonna use we're gonna add AWS DB full access, AWS DynamoDB full access. This is gonna give this service user the ability to do anything they want with DynamoDB. And then we're going to also give it S3 full access. So it's going to have permissions to do anything you want with S3. There's also an admin access, so like everything, ability to do everything with anything. But we will be putting this, we're going to be connecting it to our front end, and we want to make sure, if those credentials, God forbid those credentials get lost, you don't want someone to have credentials to full access to your account. So we're going to hit, after that, we're going to hit next tags. That's pretty much all we need. And tags, just a really quick discussion about what tags are. Tagging is completely optional. It's how you keep track of your applications and projects. It's really used in enterprise settings, like let's say you have an application ID, you want any resource that's related to this application to be correlated with some tag. So that's basically just for management and cleanliness. Go ahead and hit next review, and this is what your review page should look like. Double check, guys, that this is what it looks like. You have DynamoDB full access and S3 full access. You need to have these two permissions. If you're missing either one of these, it's going to cause a problem later down. Let me know in the chat when you guys are feeling good to move on or move forward. And I'm going to take a sip of Red Bull. Anyone else here like in love with Red Bull or just me? All of us. All right. Just me. Bang. Nah, 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 nah. Well, I mean, I haven't tried it. The thing is, I'm sipping on dragon fruit. Oh, you got the new summer edition. Heck yeah, man. Well, how do you like the dragon fruit? White flavor monster. Right on. Okay. Looks like a lot of people are feeling ready. Yes, we are recording the meeting, so no worries if you guys need to catch this later. We're going to make this recording available to CougarCS members and Rice University. So okay, looks like everyone's ready. Let's go ahead and move forward. I'm going to hit create user, and we're going to get prompted with this screen. This screen has your access key, your secret, and all this stuff. This is please don't lose this. This is the information for these are the credentials for your service account. So go ahead and hit download CSV, and then let's pocket this away for later. Nah, don't open. All right, yeah. Oh, okay.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, let me not open that in front of you guys. So yeah, this is the service account. This is what's gonna let you access your account. If you did lose it, or if you do ever lose these, don't worry. You can generate another set of access keys, but you won't be able to see these again. You have to go back to your service account. I'll just show you really quick. If you ever do lose that stuff, you just go to the user, security credentials, and then you're gonna have to create a new access key. So you'll get another set of access keys. So right, good stuff. We've created our IMA user. You guys created your first cloud resource. So awesome stuff. Pat on the back. Let's move on. All right. Now we have our account. Let's go ahead and sign in with that IMA user we just created. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign out of my account, and then from this CSV file that it gave me, this CSV file gave me a login link right here. So actually, yeah, I can show you guys. This is nothing too bad on here. All right. This will give you a link to sign in with. So just go ahead and copy that link and yeah, hop into it. The first 12 digits of this link, this like number part, that's your unique account number. So that's how you're going to identify your account. Go ahead and type in that IMA username that you just created. It actually should all be on here, but just grab that username that you made and put it on there, and then grab your password. Bam. All right. And now let's sign in. This time they don't make you do CAPTCHA, so that's how they reward you for using a IMA user. They don't hit you with that really hard CAPTCHA. All right, cool. So assuming you guys have been able to sign in successfully, let's go ahead and move forward. Let's go ahead and use that AWS CLI. So hopefully you guys all have it downloaded at this point, but no worries if it's not set up. It's not critical to this workshop, but it is really useful to have familiarity with it. We're not going to do anything super big on here though, so no worries. First thing you guys want to do is configure your AWS CLI. So just go ahead and open your terminal, and let's check that our AWS CLI is downloaded correctly. I'm going to type in AWS --version. And I'm going to get a message like this. So yeah, if your AWS was downloaded correctly, then you should be responding on the console. No worries if it's not working. It's not critical, but just a fun part. So for those of you who it is working, go ahead and type out AWS configure. And now we're going to go ahead and enter in our information that we generated a moment ago. Oh, is it not working for you, Elijah? Shoot, man. Well, hey, no worries. You can just download it again. It might be something with your like environment variables if you're using Windows. Sometimes the CLI might not connect immediately. If not, you could try downloading it again. But yeah, again, it's not critical, so no worries. If it doesn't work for this workshop, you can always come back and watch this again. So first thing we're gonna do is fill out this information. This is all gonna be on that new users thing that you got. Okay, Stella just got in. Yeah, let me go ahead and send that demo instructions in the chat. We're a little into it, but you should be able to catch up. These instructions have everything you're going to need to do, so you'll be able to just follow along. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and grab my access key and information, and I'm going to put it in here. And let me grab my secret access key. Let me put that off screen. Don't want to break my account. And then for the default region name, use US East 1. This is in the document. So if you just want to copy and paste it, it is in here. Yeah, make sure this is spelled correctly. US East 1. And then for the default output format, you're going to want to do JSON. And then just like that, your CLI should be working. Here we are. To verify that you signed in correctly, you can type in AWS STS get caller identity. And what this will do is get your the caller's identity, so the person who's making this request. And we can see that's my account number, that's correct. And then this is the service user that I just created, so I can see that I've connected it correctly. How's everyone feeling right now? Okay, all right, that's good to know. That's good. Is everyone else, where are you guys at, Vanessa and Jace? Just let me know in the chat, and I can back up. Log in as your IMA user. Okay, were you able to, you got your console login link? And then, what happened, and then your account ID's here. Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's actually a great question. That can be a little confusing. This console login link that's going to be, that's on this file, these first 12 digits right here are your account number. It should automatically fill it in when you click the link, but sometimes it doesn't, so yeah, that can be a little confusing. Yeah, no worries. It honestly, this confuses me a lot too, so like, and I use this a lot. All right. Yeah. You know, I'll wait a moment. Hey, so yeah, Jace, Ashley, how are you guys doing? So this has your login link, and then your username and password are going to be right here. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, the username is going to be the name of that IMA user you created earlier, and it's inside of this document, so you can just copy paste it directly. Yeah, and then once you're able to sign in, we're going to go ahead and move on to the CLI. And to set up the CLI, you're just going to run these commands that are in here. You're going to do AWS configure. It's going to prompt you to give you your access ID, your user account ID, which is this one, the account ID. And it's also going to ask you for the, basically all this information here. It's going to ask for your access ID, and it's going to ask your secret access ID. For the region and the default output, you're going to use JSON and US East 1. Okay, so moving on. At this point, you have your CLI properly configured. Great job. Now we have this point of access with AWS. Let us go ahead and start creating some cloud resources. Let me sign into my account. I accidentally signed out. And then I guess for those of you wanting to see how to sign in as an IMA user, here we go. I'm going to do it right now. Try to run it in console. Are you talking about the installer, like running the installer? You should just when you just open it, and it should like install AWS.
And if some of you guys are stuck on the CLI part, no need to worry. It's just an access point. We would not be using that for the full stack application part of the demo. It's just an access point, and we'll be showing you how to work with the CLI.
Yeah. It's not necessary. We're gonna it says my authentication is incorrect. No, like AWS version. Oh, okay. Oh, that's weird. For the authentication, just make sure you got your username and password, and then what is it? And then for the access key, you're gonna be putting in your access key and your secret account access. But let's not stay on the CLI too much. Again, it's not gonna be necessary for the default region. Yeah, your default region is gonna be US East 1. So that's AWS fails. You might want to reinstall. Yeah, you probably want to reinstall. Again, no worries if it doesn't work. For the default region name, it's US-East-1, all lowercase, and then JSON for the default output. But again, seriously, no worries if this isn't working. So we set up our CLI. Some of us have set up our CLI. Let's go ahead and start creating our cloud resources. We're going to start with the S3 bucket. Here's the AWS Management Console. I'm going to go ahead and search, and I'm going to look for S3, and just open that up. And then from here, I'm going to click Create Bucket. I'm going to type in Cougar, I'm going to say Nykolas F, CougarCS, demo bucket. You can name this whatever you want. Just don't forget what you name it because we're going to use it later. For the default region, make sure it's US East 1. We're going to be doing everything today in US East 1, so make sure everything you're doing is in this region. Scroll down a little bit and you'll see block public access settings for this bucket. For this, you're going to disable this, and then you're going to go down to the acknowledgement and hit I acknowledge. AWS by default locks your S3 bucket, so it's only that people that have access to your AWS account can use. But for our workshop, we're going to be using this S3 bucket to host images, and then we're going to be pulling these images from our front end. So we're going to make this public access. For the rest of these settings, you can just leave them as default. And then I'm going to hit Create Bucket at the bottom. And it's going to say successfully create a bucket for your bucket name, all that. I'm going to take a pause here and make sure, check in, how's everyone doing? All right, cool, following along. Loveline, you got an unknown error. Was that on the console when you tried to create the thing? All right, running like a champ. Okay, I'm glad to see you guys are following along. Awesome. Yeah, Loveline, if you got an unknown error, I would try creating the bucket again. If not, double, triple check that your IMA user has the right permissions. Like, make sure you got this part earlier when you were creating the IMA user. If you don't have these permissions, you might have to sign. Actually, I mean, if you're able to open this page, then you should have the permissions correctly, as long as you gave yourself full access. Yeah, if not, I would just try recreating it. I didn't see too many people respond that they're following along. How are we guys? How are we doing right now? I can slow down. I can go back over anything again. Oh, Adair's ahead. All right, man. Yeah, I mean, these instructions are here. If we're moving too slow for you guys, please feel free to shoot past us, and we'll catch up to you if you get stuck. All right. Okay. I don't see anyone asking to slow down, so let's go ahead and move on to creating the DynamoDB. So I'm going to go up to the search bar and type in DynamoDB.
Someone said slow down.
Vanessa, we're here for you. We're here for you. Where are you at? Where are you at? I can help. Also, feel free to unmute yourself. I can, if you want some like real-time debugging.
I'm just trying to do that thing, the entering in AWS STS get caller identity. I try to run it, and then the console opens and then immediately closes.
Shoot. I wouldn't worry about it. You don't need to use the CLI.
Why am I getting a call? Sorry.
You're good, you're good. I wouldn't worry about it, Vanessa. You don't need to use the CLI. It's not a requirement, so you can just move on and create the S3 bucket. And the instructions to create that S3 bucket are over here. Just make sure you have public access enabled, and yeah, you'll be set. All right, so next we're going to go ahead and create our DynamoDB table. So I'm going to navigate over to DynamoDB. I'm going to click Create Table, and I'm going to name this table. Wait, actually, let me double check. Okay, yeah, actually, I already have it. Let me delete this really quick. Actually, I'll keep it. It's all right. I'm going to create a table. I'm going to name it CougarCS demo table. Yeah, you can name it whatever you want. Just remember what you named it. And it's case sensitive, so make sure you remember how you named it. I'm going to name this 1. For the partition key, I'm going to say ID, and I'm going to set this to a number. So make sure you have your primary key as an ID and that it's a number. For the rest of these settings, you can leave them as default. I'm going to leave this screen up for a moment just so everyone can see how I created it. This is what your create screen should look like. Those of you familiar with MongoDB, the primary key is exactly the partition key. I think that's like straight out of MongoDB. So this is the same idea of having like one unique identifier for every item in your bucket, or every item in your database. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create. And if everything's working correctly, we'll see table is being created. All right. So congratulations, guys. pat yourselves on the back. You've created your very first cloud resources. You've created a database in the cloud and a file system. So now let's go ahead and play around with these things. Go ahead and open up your CLI if you were able to get that set up. Oops, I accidentally opened up CLI. Go ahead and open up your CLI, and then I gave you guys a handful of commands to run to see if everything is created correctly. So I'm going to say AWS get caller identity. This is a really good command to run anytime you're working with AWS. Like, it just tells you who are you currently signed in as. It's practical because oftentimes you might be getting some bugs and you're like, oh, I'm calling it from the wrong user. Next, there's AWS S3 LS. This is going to list all the S3 buckets you have in your account. And then there's AWS DynamoDB list tables. This is going to go ahead and list everything you have on those tables. Another thing you can do right now is run AWS DynamoDB scan table. And this is going to go scan and return the first 1 megabyte of data that you have in like a document, like a JSON form. Right now it's empty, so you're not going to really see an output from this, but once we add stuff, this command is going to start giving you some good stuff. Alright, so at this point in the workshop, I'm going to stop presenting and pass it off to Shubh. He's going to guide you guys through plugging in all this stuff we made into our front end. And then you guys will actually get to see like how this all comes together. We're going full circle.
Alright, so you guys still have some time to run through the AWS CLI commands, but I posted this link in the chat, and that's basically the demo app link. Once you're done with running those commands, go ahead and open that up, and I can show you all guys how to move forward.
Yeah. Shubh, do you want to start sharing your screen?
Yeah, I think you have to make me the host.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you're the host. Table names. Wait, what do you? Oh, when you do list tables, it's coming up empty.
Yeah, it's coming up empty.
Oh, okay. Wait.
No.
Go. Can you do? Could you go to your console and then tell me what region it says on the top? Like this right here. Does it say US East 1?
Yeah, no, it says Ohio. It's US East 2. I'll just change it real quick. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries, man. That happens seriously. This happens where I work. We use AWS a lot, and we get a lot of support tickets saying, "Hey, the stuff we created on the cloud isn't showing up on our machines," and that's like almost the fix 9 out of 10 times. So happens a lot, man. Don't even worry about it. Yeah, if you created it in the wrong region, just make sure you delete when you have some time. Make sure you delete the one that you have in East 2. And then create the one you have in US East 1. Security token in request is returning invalid. Okay, so Hassan, just make sure that you copy that from this credentials file right here. Make sure that you copy the secret access key correctly. Even a space or like just an extra digit is gonna mess up the secret access key. And then, yeah, if you're getting that issue, I would just run the command AWS solution. Oh, yeah, that's, oh, yeah, for AWS, yeah, that actually is the right
My
way.
fault, man. I was getting it, and I assumed some other people were getting it too, so I was like, okay, I found the solution, because it just worked.
Yeah, on sometimes, like, Unix systems, it doesn't, like, automatically use default. So, yeah, you got it right there.
Hey, Mac genius.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and share, so it's going to kick Nykolas out from sharing the screen.
Cool, yeah. And let me... Perfect. I'm seeing some that was easies in the chat.
All right. Yeah, let me know when you guys are ready and I can just start.
Yeah, and all the people who were saying their table names are returning empty, yeah, make sure that you created the table in the right region. My bad, I should have been, I know I mentioned it once, but like I don't think I was like super, like, hey, make sure you double check. Cool. Yeah, once you guys are feeling ready, we're gonna go ahead and plug this into our front end, and then you'll be able to upload things, and it's going to be a lot of really cool stuff, but I'll leave it to Shubh to explain what we got going on here.
Yep, and yeah, there's the demo link. Again, I shared it if you guys missed it before. Awesome.
Oh yeah, and the link to the demo, is it in the document? I think it might be there.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is there.
Yeah, it's also on the demo instructions, so it's right on page 6.
Yep. We'll just wait
Request
till like
resource not found.
7:05.
Yeah, Ashley, first I would say verify that you put that your DynamoDB table is in US East 1. You can just go to the web console and you'll be able to see what region it's in. If you can find it in the web console, it'll say the region on the top right of the page. If you did it in US East 2, which might have happened, just switch it over to you're gonna have to create it again in US East 1.
Yeah, we'll just wait till 7:05 till everybody's ready, and then we'll just get started.
Yeah. And guys, please drop in "I'm ready" in the chat if you're feeling good to go. And again, feel free to get ahead if you are reading the instructions. Oh, and for those of you who are going ahead, there is solutions at the bottom of the PDF, but give it a shot. Try and see if you can figure it out. Because I mean, even if you don't know JavaScript, it is. The documentation is explanative, pretty self-explanatory. And Shubh's put some good comments to kind of give you guys a hint on how to get there. But again, no worries. Don't get scared if you're not able to do it. We do provide the solution, so you can copy and paste it whenever you're ready.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with JavaScript or like Node and React, you're still like encouraged to go ahead and put the solution in and try to do it. What it does, it's you kind of understand how AWS SDK works, because the way it works in JavaScript, it works very similarly in any other language you're probably going to work with. So once you kind of get an idea of how it works, you can just use it in any language and just use the documentation to just do what you were trying to do. So yeah, we can get started. Once you get here, what you want to do is go ahead and click on this button called fork. If you already used Code Sandbox before, you don't need to do that. You can just start editing right away, and it'll fork it automatically for you. But once I click on fork, it's gonna create a fork for me, and it's gonna run all this stuff. While it runs that, I'm gonna show you around what this is. So here, when you click on here, this is gonna show you all of the files that you have for your project. And here is something called server control panel. And this is where you're gonna enter all of your keys and the region that you had previously gotten while setting up AWS CLI. I'm gonna quickly go ahead and enter this for my end, and y'all can also do this part.
Oh, make sure they don't see your secret access key. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we're putting these credentials in the environment variables of the application that we're building. And for those of you not familiar with, I guess, deploying applications, you generally don't want secrets to be available on the, if anyone's looking at your code, you don't want the secrets of the code to just be available. So this is API credentials or access keys, access tokens, what have you. You don't just want it that anyone who sees your code can figure out how to log into your account, especially if you're like giving it access to your AWS account. So yeah, make sure you put them in the environment. Only you're going to be able to see it for your project. Just like you can't see it, like that link that we sent, you can't see our access keys. So that's why you would want to hide it in there.
Okay. Yeah. Once you go ahead and add all of it in there, what you want to do is go ahead and reload the page. That way, all of those take effect. Mm-hmm. And let me know when you guys are ready with inputting all of this stuff, and I can move forward.
Yeah. Oh, and then the region is US East 1. So yeah, make sure you get that. And it's the same spelling as all the other ones. Make sure you're exact about that spelling.
Yeah, you don't need to change it. I think it's going to be like an open field for you, Ashley, and you can just input your keys in there and just click on add secret.
Oh, I think Ashley's asking about how to change the region. You can't change the region of a resource, or maybe you can. I'm not exactly sure. It's just easier if you click on, so on the top right of the screen where it says what region you're in, click on that drop down and then switch it to US East 1. And then after you click on that, you'll be switched to that region. Just go ahead and recreate the DynamoDB there.
Did somebody else have a question?
Oh yeah, guys, please feel free to unmute yourselves or ask questions at this point.
Okay, cool. So once you guys are in here and your application is kind of working, what you can do is go ahead and go to the aws.js file. This is where all of your code is going to live. Let me show you some basic stuff in here. So if you look at this line, line 7, you got to update this line to what your bucket name is. Bucket name is whatever you created when Nykolas was showing you creating the S3 bucket. Go ahead and input that bucket name here. So I'm going to do it for myself. And
Yeah,
this is the
sorry, but
and this is the DynamoDB table that you created. So go ahead and paste the name of that here as well.
just really quick, I want to stress, make sure you guys type it. It's case sensitive. It's sensitive to everything. Just to make sure you don't get any weird errors down the line, make sure you guys enter this correctly.
Yep. And so what we're doing here is first we got the SDK into our project with this line. And then we just describe, we just have two objects for S3 and then DynamoDB. And then you'll see that we're going to use these objects throughout our project, like here and like here. So we're gonna create these here, but you can create them anywhere else. It's just convenient for everybody. And then we're just gonna describe these here so we can use them throughout our application as well. So as you can see, this is an application right here. It's a simple trick is you just click on this open new window and it's gonna create it as a big window rather than having a small window on the left corner or right corner. And you can have a console as well. So what I'm gonna do first of all is we're gonna work on this table. What this is gonna do is gonna pull data from your DynamoDB table, and it's gonna show all of the objects, all of the users in your table. I think at this point you can go ahead and start working on this function. I can show you some stuff here. So this is a documentation of DynamoDB. Inside of DynamoDB, you'll be using a scan method, and the scan would take a parameter called params, and then the second one would be a callback function. You'll be using the data from the callback function to send it back to the server. Here are some helpful commands that you can use. So you're going to use this one to send the data back. But yeah, so you're going to use this items part to put all of the users in this items, and you're going to send it with this command right here.
Yeah. Just a couple things to note. That you have a callback function, which is you see dynamodb.scan, then you have params, comma, and you have this error, comma, data. What this does is it's like a function definition that the parameters of the function are error and data. And you can do something like if error is not null, or you can just in JavaScript you can just say if you want to show them, you can just like if error. And what this does is it's called a falsy. It's a truthy. If error is not null, then it's a truthy. So it's gonna be considered as true. So yeah, basically you just want to say if the error is true, then something went wrong when you made the request. So you can just do a console.log, or you can print something out. Else, if the error was false, there wasn't an error, then you can do something else. That data parameter will contain the stuff from your from when you made the request. So you can do console.log data and then check out in the terminal what that data is, like what was inside of that data. That's going to be the data of your call. I know some of you guys here might not have any familiarity with JavaScript, so this might seem intimidating. Just give it a try. Read the documentation, but seriously, no worries if you just want to piece this together without coding it out. We did attach the solutions at the end of this document, so just scroll down to the bottom. There's the solutions for each one of these functions. But I really want to encourage you, maybe copy the solution for one problem and then try and use what you read from the first one to figure out the second one. It's really not that difficult, and the links to the documentation are going to help you a lot.
Yep. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and create a function that's going to add users to it. But if you want to see how your function works, you can go into the console again and add some users into your DynamoDB. That way you get a feedback here when you are pulling the data back.
Do you want to show them how to I guess add it in 30B if they want to, or?
I'm not signed in to AWS. Do you want to go ahead and do that?
No, it's all right. Okay. I mean, we're gonna add users in a moment, so I guess you'll find out. You'll find out closer to the end if it worked or not. But I mean,
Okay.
it just reconfigure it. No worries.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm gonna send a copy of the PDF instructions to the chat again.
Awesome. Yeah. We'll wait till like we'll give you guys 5 minutes to work on this. It's highly recommend that you guys go to this documentation link. It's gonna basically show you how to do it. And if you use it, you should be able to get the solution pretty easily.
Yeah, it might look a little complicated, but you just need to specify like a couple parameters and in that params thing. And then once you have that, you should be good to go. I do want to note, actually, Shubh, while you're showing this, I guess we can give a hint for if you guys are interested on that params to scan a table. If you could scroll down a little bit. Some of these aren't required. Like some of these parameters aren't required. Shubh, if you can like point out which ones they don't need.
Okay. So what the only thing you need in the parameter is you just need to specify the table name. That's it. And we already have the table name defined as a constant here. So what we can just do is just do like table name and then just define that constant here. And that's going to take care of all of the params for you.
Yeah. I suggest you guys try doing this piece by piece. You know, first thing you could do is add this if-else thing in there, and then do some console.logs. Like print out what you're getting. So see if you're getting an error when you make the call, or if you're getting a data. You know, kind of piece it together and see how things are going. And if things aren't working, like if things are being strange, feel free to shoot a question in the chat or unmute yourselves. And you want to? What time do you want to move on to the next one, Shubh?
We'll give a couple more minutes for everybody. If y'all are ready, just post ready, and we can. A lot of them are done. We can just move on.
Yeah. But I wouldn't expect you guys like to figure this out normally in like 5 minutes. Like it's not generally with like working with cloud, it's a lot of trial and error. But once you figure out the commands one time, you have one project. Then you just make your next project and copy and paste. And another really cool thing I want to note is the AWS SDK in JavaScript is really similar to the AWS SDK that they have for Python. It's called Boto 3. There's one for Python. There's one for .NET, C++, C#. There's one for a lot of different languages. So regardless of what you're using, just grab the SDK. And what's great is the commands are super similar. Like they're all using the same API beneath the hood. So the parameters are the same. It's just different languages have different styling. So what we hope this workshop will do for you guys is you'll get to see how the implementation works in JavaScript, and then if you have a JavaScript project, you could literally copy and paste from here, or you can set this up in Python and just look at what the docs look like there.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll post the link for the solution in the chat now, so y'all can copy it there from there as well, and then we can move on to implementing the next function. So the solution is also on my screen right now, if you want to follow along. All right. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to implement, let's go ahead and implement the delete function. So what we're going to do is whenever we add a users here, it's going to have a button here that's going to be a delete function, and it's going to call this function here. What we need to do is here we need to delete the user from the DynamoDB, and I'll go to the documentation that will show you guys how you would actually delete the user in DynamoDB. The method is called delete item, and you just need to provide params, and it's also going to have a callback. It follows the same methodology as the previous one that we have in scan. It also had a param and callback. It's the same thing here. And it also has two variables in it, error and data.
Oh, hey, after we paste in the code, is there like a run button or anything to?
So since the front end's already set up for you, what you can do is just have the backend. The backend's going to update on its own, And so you can just try to input data here and click submit, and it should, and then click on refresh data so that the users would pop up.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, exactly. You can just play around with it. Yeah, and well, make sure you save your file. Like after you finish editing it, once you save it, you should see the terminal. It'll do like a refresh. And then I would recommend what Shubh did earlier, like popping out this browser in a different tab, because I really hate working in that tiny window. So the other tabs are just more easier.
Awesome. For the keys, let me send you guys a hint for the parameters. So what we're gonna do is the table name is already set up for our parameters. There's another thing we need to mention in here is the ID that for the user that we're gonna delete. And the ID is gonna be this. It's this is this constant that we already are getting when the user clicks on the delete button. We're already gonna have that. So we just pass that along to DynamoDB and it'll know which user to delete when you click that button.
Yeah. And what is it? That in DynamoDB, it has that style where you say ID and then you specify n:user ID. What you're really saying is just you have this field called ID. Its type is a number, so you have n, and then you pass in the actual value of that item. This is a quirk of DynamoDB when you're working with it in JavaScript. If you actually do this in Python, the syntax is a little cleaner. For me personally, I use Python a lot when I'm working with AWS. It's a really great, really easy way to do it.
Is MongoDB case sensitive?
MongoDB. So this isn't MongoDB, but I think for the primary key, I'm not actually sure actually if you're using a string if it would be case sensitive or not. I can't tell you for certain. That's a good question.
Awesome. Yeah. So since this is a very, very easy function, we'll move on to the next one. I think this is the solution itself. All you need to figure out was doing the parameters part. This is pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy. If you want to do more error handling, you can pass on more callback function. You can work with it more. But this is kind of enough for our solution right now. And so we can move on to the fun one, which is adding the user. Here you will take in the two fields, name, job title, and a profile picture from the front end. And what you'll do is first upload this profile picture to your S3 bucket, and then take that URL for the picture you uploaded and send that along with these two fields into your DynamoDB. So here's the DynamoDB part, and here's the S3 part. And for S3, first you'll do S3, so you need to upload the picture. You'll use this thing called put object, and here you'll need to figure out the parameters. I've kind of hinted you what you need to do for params, but you still need to figure out the bucket and the ACL part of it. And after you do that, you'll need to do the DynamoDB parameters. What we're doing here, we're just using like the time in milliseconds to describe the file name and the file ID. That way it's just unique every time you upload the file. So we're already pre-building the URL for you here. But whenever you upload this file in in S3, you're gonna pass this thing called key, which is actually gonna be the file name when it gets stored in S3. But we're gonna take care of that over here with these two constant, file name in S3 and URL. So whenever you upload the data in DynamoDB, you can use this URL. And then for these two fields, name and job title, you can just use these two constants right here to create your object or for the name and job title and the image here.
Yeah, that's right. One thing I want to point out that I think is cool, Shubh, if you can scroll up a little bit. You see how we're building this URL programmatically? AWS has this is a feature of AWS is there's a lot of consistency in how they assign unique identifiers to objects. There are two different unique identifiers in general. There's the Amazon resource number, or ARN. This is every single resource in AWS has an ARN, and this is a programmatically built identifier. It looks something like AWS : S3 colon bucket colon account number colon the name of the object you created. It basically it has a really programmatic way of constructing the ARN, and you can always programmatically guess what the ARN is for resources even before you create them. Here we have a URL. This is a URL for our S3 bucket. Most resources don't have a URL, like a publicly accessible URL, but earlier we set that up so it's public. But what's really cool is when you're making a program, you always know what the identifier for an object is. So you can plug it in before they're even created. You can do all the math and configuration.
Yep. I'll go ahead and set up the S3 bucket, S3 parameters for you guys, because if you're stuck, it will be helpful. So one thing to note here is we are making all the files public read because they're going to be stored in our DynamoDB as a URL. And in the front end, it will just be an image with a URL in it. So for us to access it in our front end or for anybody else to access this in their application, it needs to be public so they can see the image itself. Yep. It also has a callback, so you can use this for error handling and working with the data it gives back to you. We don't need to do that for our demo purposes right now. But yeah, it's definitely recommended if you're doing a production application.